Alright, so I just did a video on YouTube where I was talking about Valero in Aurora, South Dakota. And I want to give you guys the backstory on that because I know you guys that follow me on YouTube do not know the backstory on that. So I have a 6-axle truck with a 90,000 pound capacity, gross I should say, normally around 57,000 pounds of cargo capacity, or 27 tons. And I do hopper bottom. So if you don't know what hopper bottom is, you can Google it. And I have a 48-foot trailer with 86-inch sides. So a couple of months ago, I booked a load of DDG going from Albion, Nebraska, out to Idaho. And I did not know what the density of this product was. I didn't know what the volume was. I didn't know how much I could fit in my trailer of this stuff. DDG can have different weights. It's not like corn where it's 56 pounds a bushel, or wheat that's 60 pounds a bushel. DDG, depending on the quality, can weigh differently. For example, I took a load of DDG out of Goldfield, Iowa, and I only got 22 ton on the truck. This DDG that I just picked up from Valero in Aurora, South Dakota, I have 26 tons on the truck, 52,000 pounds. I'm grossing right around 84,000 pounds right now with a half a tank of fuel. So I go to this Valero in Albion, Nebraska. I've never been there before. So I check in, and they have a sheet you fill out of how much you want on your truck. Well, with DDG, you're not going to get what you're asked for. And with a hopper bottom, you have to be loaded a particular way so you are not over on your drives or on your tries or tandems for that matter, depending on whether you have a 3 or a 2 or a 3-axle trailer. I have a 3-axle trailer. So normally for corn, let's do an easy one. For corn, I'll put 18,000 in the front, and I'll normally put 38,000 in the back. That gives me 56,000 pounds, which gets me really close to 90,000. It's normally right around 1,030 bushels. Normally, what I carry is 1,020, 1,022, but I can do 1,030 legally. So, I didn't know what this DDG density was. And so I go in there and I fill out this form. And I go in and the form says 18,000 in the front, whatever it was for the back, 38 or 36, I can't remember what it was. And so they go to load me, and it won't all fit in the back, so they put more than 18,000 in the front and put me over on my drives. I knew I was over because I have onboard scales. A lot of us who do hopper bottom, we have onboard scales that tell us what our approximate weights are. And I knew I was over on my drive. So before I left the property, I went back up to the check-in and I said, hey, I'm over on my drives and I have to take some off. And I called somebody. They had so many complaints there. It's the only place I have ever been to in 30 years where they actually have a sign up by the check-in saying, for any complaints, call this number. It's like, wow, this place must really have some serious problems. So I called the guy, and well, I talked to one person, and they said, well, we can't take anything, because as soon as they loaded me, I'm sorry, I'm getting out of chronological order in the story. So as soon as they loaded me, I told the guy, hey, I'm over on my drive, and they take some off. He said, well, you can't take it off. Anything you take off, you're going to have to pay for it. And it's like, well, you misloaded me. You didn't load me the way that I told you to load me. Not our problem. It's like, all right, well, let me talk to a manager. So I pulled out of there. I got out of the way to other trucks to load. And I went back to the check-in office. There was a number up there to call for complaints. Well, apparently it was a plant manager or foreman or something. And I talked to him. And all this time I'm parked on the driveway going out. I didn't want to leave the property. And the first thing he does when he comes up to me where I'm parked at, he starts screaming at me about where I'm parked at. It's like, holy fuck, dude. So I went back to my truck. I hustled back to my truck, got in it, and I moved over to where I was parked at. And I'm trying to explain to this guy how, you know, I need to get some off because they misloaded me. I'm over on my drive. He said, well, I hate custom load. We don't do custom loads. You get it how we give it to you. And it's like, well, that doesn't even make sense. He said, well, that's what you wanted. And I said, well, that was the max weight for the front. And this argument go on. And this guy starts getting in my face, screaming at me. I'm talking like he's this far away from me. And he's just screaming at me. I said, man, you need to back up. You're way too close to me. And then he lunges into my face and he says, no, you need to back up. And he's just screaming at me this whole fucking time. Well, in the meanwhile, I've been in contact with a customer about being overloaded and them telling me that they won't take it off. And the customer is trying to reach this guy. And this guy hung up on him once and then wouldn't answer the phone after that. This guy was completely psychotic. I don't know what was wrong with him, but this guy was unhinged. And so the customer eventually sent me to another location to close by to take some off so I would be legal. And it was a fucking mess. So I wrote a letter to corporate. I tried talking to the broker. I tried talking to the customer, and they didn't want to get involved. Even though, you know, they got fucked on this too, they didn't want to get involved. And it's like, are you serious? This is your fucking product, and your representative just got fucked in the ass, and you just want to throw me under the bus? And I've had problems with this particular broker before. This broker has thrown me under the bus before, and I don't really like dealing with him. But, so I go get unloaded. Well, in the coming days, I wind up writing a letter to corporate. Sorry, I got a fly in here. Wind up writing a letter to corporate explaining what had happened. And they said, well, we got cameras up everywhere. We'll review the cameras. Well, time goes by, and they came back and they said, we didn't see anything wrong. The story doesn't match what you said. It's like, oh, okay. So how many microphones do you have up? So they completely whitewashed the whole thing. And as far as I know, that psycho is still working there. I don't know. Unless they did something quietly internal, he's still there. But that guy was insane. And I swore I'd never go back to Valero in Albion, Nebraska again. And that's the backstory on that. And that's why I said when I booked this load coming out of Aurora, South Dakota, I was dreading going there once I realized it was a Valero location. But fortunately, they had professional staff there. So that's the backstory on the whole Valero thing. And I absolutely will not go back to Albion, Nebraska. And I don't like Valero. Their corporate office refused to do anything about the treatment that I got in there. And keep in mind, I've been driving 30 years, man, and I never have problems anywhere. I'm pretty laid back. All I want to do is get loaded. I don't want to make any waves. I don't want to do anything that's going to get me jerked around. I just want to go in, get loaded, and leave, and I try to be as nice as possible to everybody. Because in the trucking world, you start acting like a jerk, people are going to start jerking.